Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making 4 super simple Christmas baking recipes that are perfect if you are giving out candy this holiday season. The very first thing we're going to start with are candy cane cupcakes. And I'm actually not a huge peppermint fan, and that's one of the best part about these cupcakes is there's no peppermint in them at all, and the design is candy cane. So all you need for this recipe is a white cake mix, and you're just going to prepare it as of package directions. If you have a hand mixer, go ahead and use your hand mixer. Mine is broken at the moment, so I'm just using a fork. But if you have a hand mixer, that will make it about 100 times easier, I'd say. Once your cake mix is mixed, we're going to go ahead and get a smaller bowl and pour about 1/4 of the white cake mix into the smaller bowl. The amount that's in the smaller bowl we are going to color red, and this is going to make our candy cane stripe inside our cupcake. So whatever coloring you use, make it as bright or as light as you want to. It's completely up to you in that part of the recipe. You could also, if you're not going for candy cane cupcakes, you could make this any color you want and just have a really cute swirl on your cupcake. I finished mixing the food coloring into that part of the white cake mix, and now I'm going to line a 24 cupcake pan with some cupcake liners. And I promise you this cupcake pan is clean. Looking at it on camera, it does not look like it, but it has just had a lot of wear and tear. But it is clean. I just wanted to let you know that. So my camera actually stopped recording. It got full and stopped recording right when I was putting the cupcake batter into the cupcake. So I'm just going to explain to you how to do it. You're going to put some white cake mix into the cupcake tin about half of the way full. And then you're just going to drizzle on the red food coloring and take a toothpick and just swirl it all the way through. If you want it to be a defined layer of candy cane, then you can put about 1/4 of the cupcake tin full of white cake mix, a little bit of red on top of it, and then cover the rest of the cupcake with more white cake mix and make like a peppermint sandwich kind of thing with white, red, and then white. I hope that makes sense because my camera stopped working and I didn't know what to do about it, so I just figured I'd explain it, and there you go. And I went ahead and baked these cupcakes just as it said on the back of the cupcake box. Once they've cooled, you can frost these with whatever kind of icing you like, but I'm actually going to use them in my next recipe and turn them into reindeer cupcakes. Okay, here we are with our reindeer cupcakes. This is a really easy and way to make your cupcakes cute. So I just have my candy cane cupcake that I make, and I'm going to be using some chocolate frosting. I was going to share my chocolate frosting recipe with you, but my mixer was not working, and I had to I tried using a potato masher, I tried using a blender, I tried using anything I could think of, and it was just like a tragedy. So we're not going to talk about that. So just use some pre-made icing. Let's just go with that. So I'm just going to take a pretzel and stick it right in and make it look like antlers. I'm going to use 2 mini M&Ms, M side down, so it's just the flat solid colored side, making little eyeballs. And then I'm going to use a chocolate chip and put it right in the center for his little nose. And if you're going easy and making these with kids, you can make them any kind you want. If you just want to smear the icing on the top, if you want to go fancy and do this kind of thing like I'm doing with the little circle, have at it. I did find that later as I'm making these cupcakes, I made the circle smaller and you could still see some of the cupcake, and I think that looked a lot nicer. It kind of looked like the icing was just pouring off the cupcake in the beginning, so I would definitely recommend making just a small circle, small amount of icing, and then going with the details. But I think these were super cute, and they're a lot like the turkey cupcakes that were going around at Thanksgiving, but I'm just all about making these cute little cupcakes out of simple things. You could also use white icing if you wanted them. Or if you want to use like a red dot of some sort for the nose and make them Rudolph cupcakes, you just have so much freedom with this recipe, and it's great for kids too. I have a little confession to make. I was planning on giving all these cupcakes out to friends and family members, and I might have eaten one while I was editing. They just looked really good, so I went ahead and ate one, and they're amazing. So I'm just gonna say some of these might not be available to make their way to friends and family members. Moving on, we have mint chocolate bars, and this is a new recipe I found. I've never made it before. So we do need a 9-ounce package of chocolate wafers. They're kind of like Kit Kats. And I'm just going to say, my package was only 8 ounces. I don't know how big an ounce is, but I don't think it's important. And it's not like I'm going to be off by a cup. So I went ahead and mixed my wafers with 2 sticks of butter. 1 stick of butter with some butter. The right recipe will be down in the description if you want to go see for yourself, but I just know mix some wafers with some butter. I did not bring my cookbook with me when editing. So after it's all mixed together, we're going to take a 9x13 pan that's lined and sprayed, and we're going to just start to press it and make a good crust at the bottom of our pan. As you can see, mine aren't exactly finely crushed, whatever you call it, but I think it was fine. They're still pretty good. I would finely crush them if I made them again, just because it is weird to have some chunky pieces, but I still think they were good. I'll eat them. I'll make people eat them, so they'll be fine. No recipe's perfect, especially if you're, like, I don't know, if you're not a professional baker. Nothing's perfect in life, and neither will the recipes be, and especially my recipes, because my recipes, they're a little iffy. Once we have a good crust, we're going to put this in the fridge for 20 to 30 minutes, just until it's hard. While that's in the fridge, I'm going to go ahead and make the mint buttercream, and I'm going to combine 3 cups of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons peppermint extract, and another stick of melted butter. If you have a hand mixer, again, that will be super useful for this step, but if you don't, you can just do what I'm doing and go Little House on the Prairie style and use a fork, which is not recommended. I really wanted to give up during this step, but I was so much just mixing and mixing. You wonder what they do back in the good old days whenever they didn't have this kind of stuff, but I guess now we know they probably had some good arm muscles. As you just saw, I added about a tablespoon of cream. The recipe says as needed. You can add some cream just to make it the consistency you want for, to make it like a light buttercream. Once it's all mixed together, I'm going to add some green food coloring, but that is completely optional. If you're not a big fan of artificially colored foods, then just don't do it. Leave it white. Just for the whole Christmas thing of it, I wanted to add some green. Once our crust is hardened and our buttercream is done, we're going to go ahead and layer the buttercream onto the crust. So the recipe said if you want to decorate the top, which is optional, then save some buttercream off to the side and there'll be plenty to use. Okay, so I tried to save as much as possible to decorate the top, and there was just like hardly any. So I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to use all of it and I'll make some more, because there was way not enough to spread it over it. Unless you wanted like a super thin layer, there was not enough to cover the whole thing and then decorate the top. Just as a side note, if you want to decorate the top, then you'll have to make some extra icing. But if you don't want to decorate the top, then you got plenty. So if anything says optional, decorate the top, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm decorating the top. I like making it extra. It lets you be creative. I'm just gonna spread this out evenly, and then this goes back in the fridge for 20 to 30 minutes. And while that is in the fridge, I'm going to mix 1/4 of a cup of whipping cream with about 1.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. But I mean, you can add as many chocolate chips as you want. Just add a little more cream. If you want a thick layer, just make a little bit more. So then I'm going to put this in the microwave at 80% cook power until it's melted. Make sure you do like 10-second intervals. And then I'm just going to spread this all over the top. I like glob it around in the different places so it's easier to spread out. And then I'm just gonna make it look like as nice of a layer as possible. Make it look as flat as can be and not all wrinkly. But again, I'm not a baker. I'm not a professional chef. Might be after I'm done baking all this stuff, but I'm not at the moment. I'll keep you updated. But yeah, I'm just going to hope for the best here and then put this in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours until it's hardened, and then we'll decorate the top. Okay, I left this in the fridge for about 2 hours, and now is the best part, which is time to hack it to pieces, aka cut it into bars. There's no right or wrong way how to do this. I'm just going to chop off the ends and then cut some evenly looking sized squares out of it. I think it made about 24. I'm just going to use a really sharp knife and just kind of like chop through it. If you want a nice clean line, then wipe off your knife between each cut. I kind of did, but then I kind of didn't. I just went with, like, I just chopped it up, and it was fine. It's lovely. So I'm just going to cut off all the ends, which I did not like the look of, because they just looked rough around the edges. So, I'm mainly only going to give away the parts that were in the middle after I decorate them. And then anybody who lives in my house can eat the edges. I don't think they'll be too particular. So, yep, that's pretty much it. And then we're just going to decorate it all. For decoration, I decided to just go with a nice Christmas tree. I think it made it look pretty festive. I did try to do swirls, but those turned out really ugly, so I went with Christmas trees on all of them. Moving on to our next recipe is candy cane cookies. This was the bane of my existence. So I put 2 sticks of butter, room temperature. As you can tell, my room was very hot. Not really, I microwaved it because I was too lazy to wait on getting them room temperature. And then I just put in some powdered sugar, and all these will be in the description, all the measurements. And I just mixed it. As you can tell, my mixture started to work if I only used one beater because the other side isn't spinning. So I went with that for a while, but then it kind of started to fall apart. So I went back to a fork, which was terrible. Terrible, but oh well. And then I'm just adding some almond extract. And if you prefer, you could do peppermint if you wanted to. I'm adding about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This is sea salt. And then an egg. Once that's all mixed together, we're going to gradually start adding 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we're just going to keep mixing and slowly incorporating the flour. I do it about 1 cup at a time, and then the 1/2 cup at the end. So now we have a pretty good dough. It's very sticky and pasty-like. So I'm just going to go in there with my hands and make it a good ball and make sure all that flour is incorporated, especially since I had to use a fork. There's probably a better chance that not all the flour got mixed in. So I'm just going to turn it into a ball, And then I'm going to divide out half of it, because half of it is going to go in a separate bowl and half of it is going to stay in this bowl. So once I get, there we go, once I get everything in there, I'm just going to divide it equally. And personally, I think you, after making these, you should have left a little bit more white than you did moving into the other bowl. So the amount that's in this bowl, this is half, perfectly equal. I'm going to add some red food coloring to make it the red stripe in the candy cane. I started to use a fork and I quickly learned that was not going to work, so I went in there, I put a glove on and I went in there with my hand so I didn't stain my hand, especially because I'm actually allergic to food coloring. I'm not really supposed to be eating it, but if I touch it, then I get hives. I'm not exactly sure what color, but I'm kind of trying to be cautious with all of them. So I'm just gonna like mush it all together with the glove on to try and get somewhat of a uniform color throughout the dough. Everyone needs that one Christmas treat they give out that they're just a little embarrassed of, so this is for sure mine, because doing this there was a whole lot of trial and twice as much error because it just was not working. It was very sticky. I think you really need to refrigerate this dough before using it, but I didn't. So this is what I did with it if you're gonna follow the recipe exactly. So I just took a pinch of the white dough and then a little bit smaller of a pinch of the red dough, and then I just mushed them together and made like a ball out of them. And then I started to like roll them into a rope, and then since they were mushed together, the colors are kind of already started to swirl. But if you want them swirled even more, you can just twist it and then roll it again, and then just shape it into a candy cane. And it seems so easy, but it's so hard. I mean, I don't know what I did wrong. It was just very bad, and I was so over it. Like, I was just ready to give up, throw it all away, but I kept going, and I think they look okay. They're definitely not the best. Oh, and get this, I spent all this time on it, and then most of them burned on the bottom. I mean, some of them burned. I left them in for 9 minutes, and it said 8 to 10 minutes, so that 1 extra minute just really overdid it. But I only rolled a couple on camera because it was painful to watch. So here's what they look like. They're a little droopy looking. They look sad. This is what I'm giving out this season, but it'll be fine. Whatever.